Dairy farmers have been struggling for years, haven't they? But these new increases in things like feed costs and the price of diesel must be really hurting.
Yeah, good afternoon, Colin. Yeah, they are really hurting a lot. I mean, we've obviously tried to control our costs of production over sort of many years, but these sudden and dramatic increases have certainly made a difference, and they're certainly really challenging us at the moment. That is a fact.
Is there one in particular that's really hit you, Matthew? I mean, for instance, red diesel. I mean, people think, oh, well, farmers get their diesel cheaply, but you're getting through, 5 miles a gallon in a tractor, and you need to be running around a bit.
Yeah. Diesel's a huge has had a huge impact on us, but probably more so than that. Probably the fertilizer and the feed, the feed costs are probably just as important. I mean, I think from a feed perspective, milk volumes are sort of continue to drop around sort of 3-4%. So the incentive that we need to sort of increase more milk. To increase more milk is to get a better milk price, but that ratio between milk price and feed costs are really stretching us. I mean, feed now from probably May the 1st is looking around sort of late 300s, even over £400 a tonne. So we equate that back to a sort of a milk price to make it viable for us to increase volumes. We've got to be looking at around sort of 48. Possibly even 50p a litre. And at the moment, our price is set to increase on May the 1st to 40p a litre. So although that's very welcome, we're obviously looking for more increases as well, because we know that feed and energy costs and fuel costs are going to continue to go, unfortunately, in the wrong direction.
Matthew, I'll just clarify for our viewers who are looking at a sow suckling her piglets. Yes, it's about milk, but not the sort of milk we're talking about. There's talk perhaps of butter going up to the sort of £2 mark, 50% increase in the price of milk in the supermarkets. I mean, we know the supermarkets, some in particular, have really screwed dairy farmers to the floor with what they're prepared to pay. Are they showing a little bit more leniency now?
Well, yeah, I mean, thankfully they are. I think sort of looking at our contract compared to farmers with aligned contracts, supermarket contracts, they've always, historically, they've always been sort of 6-8p a litre ahead of what we've been able to get. Now, obviously, the last 3 or 4 weeks, 3 or 4 months, they've actually been below our price. They've obviously been paid sort of 3 or 4 pence a litre below what we've been paid, basically because supermarkets have refused to put the milk price up on the shelves, and they've been sort of giving notice to leave their suppliers. But thankfully now I hear over the last couple of days that prices in shops and supermarkets are set to rise. So hopefully that should stop that trend. But it does need sort of unfortunately it needs increases in the shops and the supermarkets to make a difference to what we produce and how we produce it.
Matthew, just a final brief thought on food security. Do you think are you bumping into more people now who get it, who have heard actually the reality of the fact that we only produce about half the food we consume in this country, and in a world post-COVID where people have seen what can happen to very fragile supply chains, maybe we need to address that?
Well, definitely. I mean, I think this is probably the most important thing of all in an age where we're looking to having to import more and more of our food, and the incentive seems to be from the government to be taking productive land out of production. So less food is going to be able to come from, obviously from the UK. We need to look to be keeping that land in production in the hope that we can produce all the food that we need. Obviously, we're going to suffer. We're not going to be able to produce everything. But from a policy point of view, with the current elm situation and whatever that's going to happen in the future, if that policy persists and potentially thousands of acres are going to be taken out of productive land, is going to be taken out of food production, it's going to get worse. And we've got to rely on our own farmers, our own producers to produce land within these shores without having to have the increased vulnerability of having it brought in from abroad, because transport and everything else, air miles, what everyone seems to be talking about it's just going to increase in price. And if we can try and produce more and more from what our own land and whatever, it has to be a good thing. But policy has to change, and if it doesn't, then I think it's going to be worrying time for all of us.
Yeah, and Matthew, ELM is environmental land management, isn't it? This is the government paying you money to, say, plant trees and take productive land out of use. Just that's what it stands for, isn't it?
Right, yes, it is. But again, from a financial point of view, it just, from our point of view, from our own personal farm point of view, and from a majority of farm, it just doesn't make economic sense to do it. It cannot pay. It cannot relate to the same payment as what we're going to end up losing through the single farm payment.
Trees may be good for the environment, but they don't feed people, do they? Matthew, we've got to leave it there, but really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much. Matthew Robinson, who's a dairy farmer.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.